absolutely ridiculous. They'll believe anything. They'll believe anything. Maybe. How can we find out what's true? In today's age, all we keep hearing about is misinformation, disinformation, things like that. But, you know, we do for this channel, Abby and I, we do a lot of research, we see a lot of things, and it's really tough for us to see exactly what's going on and what the angle is, what the slant is. So yeah, we're going to get into this all today, and we're back. And Abby, great to see you
great
as usual, right?
Yeah,
and as you can see from the angle of the desk, we have another guest today. So really interested to hear her perspective. And yeah, her name is Raven. So Raven, thank you for joining us today.
Yay!
Hi. Hi, my name is Raven, and
give us an introduction. So who are you?
I'm a visual designer and stylist. I'm watching you or watching here?
Oh, you
watching the camera.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And I'm a stylist, and also my English is suck. So
that's okay.
Well, I mean, so far you're doing pretty good. So I'm sure we'll manage to have a good conversation, right?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So and you're Abby's friend, right?
No, I don't know her.
Okay, so
don't know each other.
So you just kind of wandered into our studio here today.
We just a stranger coming by. Hey, I'm registered. I want to join your podcast.
No, I'm dive with her. Dive?
Oh, you go
Scuba
diving.
diving.
Yeah.
Scuba diving.
You like diving?
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
So are you pretty good? I know Abby's pretty good at diving.
No, I'm
Also,
the professional. And she's like, you know,
She's just so.
I need her help.
she in the no, so I had to step her.
Oh, you saved her, right?
Yeah, step your ass.
Okay.
Remind pronunciation S or
Ass.
Yeah, she was talking about ass. Right? Yeah.
okay.
You gotta love talking about ass.
Okay, we're gonna talk about it later.
We love ass.
Right. So I suppose I should apologize, right?
Apologize.
Yeah, because as you can see, we're going to have quite an animated, fun discussion, but we're going to talk about some serious topics today. So we'll do our best to see how we get through, and hopefully we can do one or two fun segments later, because I know we were discussing beforehand some nice topics, right? So we'll see if we can get to them later, right? All right, so Abby, should we get into this?
Yeah.
All right.
Unbelievable. We are going to talk about serious topics.
Yeah. So Raven, I think let's start this off by just asking you a question, right? Which is
not too difficult, please.
We'll see how we go, right? I might challenge you there. So, but you've heard of Zelensky, right?
Yeah.
And you've heard about what's going on in Ukraine.
Yes.
Yeah. How much do you follow this? Just a little bit?
Like the building in Ukra is like everything is
destroyed.
Yeah, destroyed.
Okay. So you follow a little bit, but
Yeah,
not
and
too much, right?
Someone want to go to the bakery to buy the bread
Yeah.
and die.
Okay.
And die?
Yeah.
Why? Because
Really?
the
Why?
soldier killed him? Or?
like 飞弹要怎么讲？
Oh,
他
the
们偷吃的
missile.
飞弹，我只是去买了一些面包，然后就飞弹掉下来，我就死了。Can you do the translate for me?
So they went to buy bread and they died in the bakery.
Yeah, because the missile come.
Oh, the missile bombed the bakery. Oh, I
Bomb
see.
back.
Okay.
Oh.
Sure. Well, that sounds pretty sad, but I mean, you've heard of Zelensky, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what is your opinion? What have you heard about Zelensky?
I know he used to be a actor.
Yeah.
And
A
he's
comedian.
Yeah, and this time 就是这件事。
Try to make sure you talk into the mic, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think he's like very 我真的不会怎么知道怎么讲英文。他非常擅长使用 social media
哦
的软体
yeah.
去宣传他
Yeah.
想要去跟其他国家就是沟通的事情。
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, my English suck. 我已经跟你们讲过了。Please.
He's really good at using social media to like spread all of his opinion, his thought
Yeah,
to
he's pretty
everyone,
smart.
not only to Ukraine people but also to like
Sure.
the whole world, right?
Sure. Okay.
He's very on trend.
But I mean,
Chen, what's it?
On trend, 走在时尚的尖端。
Very fashion.
Yeah, on trend.
sure. But I mean, when you watch the news and stuff, what is people's opinion in general? Do they look at him like very positive? He's a good guy or negative? He's a bad guy? What do you think?
Actually, I don't know how to speak English.
But good or bad? When you watch the
Do you
news,
think
he's
he's a good guy?
or a bad guy?
I think now I don't know. I just
it's like a gray area, right?
Yeah. It's
Sure.
like
Sure. But I mean, when you watch the news, what does the news tell you? Does the news say he's a good guy or a bad guy?
I just know 了俄罗斯
Yeah, Russia.
是 bad guy
Oh, so Russia's bad, right?
Russia is
Okay.
bad guy. Everyone is saying Russia is so bad.
because before this,
Yeah.
I know the people is not happy about 这个人，对，
Putin?
不是那个你们今天要讨论这
Yeah,
I
Zelensky.
know the people is not happy about this one.
You mean like Ukraine people?
Yeah,
他们
yeah,
当地
yeah.
人民。
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Abby, what about you? I mean, when you watch the news, how do they portray Zelensky?
They say Zelensky is a hero.
He's a hero, right?
It's
Yeah,
like
I've
he
seen that
tried
too.
to stay in his country, try to protect his people, and call for help from other countries for like support. They say, oh, he didn't run away, so at least he stayed. That's what I heard from the media. But maybe it's not the truth. But anyway, that's what the media told us.
Sure. So I wanted to show you a picture.
Okay.
Actually, so I want to show you two. This is related to what I said in the intro. I said that it's hard to know what's going on, right? So just in all my searching, I came across this picture. And this is how the West was covering Ukraine before the war. And if you have a look at this, you'll see these are just headlines, right? So like, welcome to Ukraine, the most corrupt nation in Europe.
No.
Ukraine president's rule becomes increasingly corrupt and authoritarian. How do you say corrupt in Chinese?
贪污，就是他非常的贪污。
Yeah, I mean, Ukraine President Zelensky deepens his alliance with the far right.
Corrupt should be like a 就是有点腐败，就是那个
All right.
Yeah.
You can see more. Ukraine's neo-Nazi problem.
然后
You know.
他们国内有一些就是纳粹的问题，就是他们有纳粹军队那样。
So there are a whole lot of things, and this is before, right? So that's one picture. And then here's another one. It's got even way more detail to it, right? Western media before February 2022. If you have a look at these things, you'll see Ukraine celebrates Nazi collaborator. Bans
Lots
the
of
book.
Nazi
Wow.
symbol, right?
Yeah, Kiev's far-right groups refuse to disarm. Neo-Nazis on the far right. So this is quite different from what we see now.
Now they don't talk about this.
They don't.
Yeah.
But, you know, we wouldn't be doing our jobs very well if we didn't actually check this out. So I've tried to search a lot of these. And if you have a look here, you'll see that actually a lot of them are kind of true. So let's go through some of them, right? I mean, like, this is one. That was about the Pandora Papers. And that's one of those headlines. Ukraine has more politicians in the Pandora Papers than any other country.
What is the Pandora Papers?
So I actually loaded it up here to show you the Pandora Papers, right? It was a leak. I'll show you here. This
Secret-
massive leak of documents from offshore service providers was revealed in a worldwide investigation coordinated by the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists.
It's similar like a CIS, like a secret.
It was just,
Yeah.
it was like people showing something. And you'll see here it says,
Uh-huh.
more than 600 investigative journalists from around the world spent 2 years going through 11.9 million files to uncover the beneficial owners of more than 29,000 offshore firms. So, you know, companies sometimes have an offshore company that they use to do bad things. This was a report that came out to show how many of these people were involved with these offshore kind of companies and doing
disclosure,
bad things. Yeah.
all of things.
And then what they found there was that Ukraine has more politicians mentioned in those papers than any
Yeah.
other country in the world.
Okay.
And here, Ukraine's deadly profession. 3 journalists attacked in July, and that's a whole article about that. These are all the headlines from that picture I showed you. Ukraine's neo-Nazi problem. Okay? So you see it's here, as Ukraine struggles against Russia and its proxies continues, Kiev must also contend with a growing problem behind the front lines. Far-right vigilantes who are willing to use intimidation and even violence to advance their agendas, and who often do so with the tacit approval of law enforcement agencies. That's from 2018.
Oh.
And
Here's
here's
4 years
another
ago.
one, right? Secret court document exposes state looting in Ukraine. So people taking money from the state. And it just goes on and on. Ukraine President Zelensky deepens alliance with the far right. What's this one here? Why Zelensky's Ukraine is becoming increasingly autocratic.
Autocrat.
How do we find that in Chinese? Let's see. We can explain it to you. I'll tell you in Chinese what that one means, right?
但我知道是负面的，因为我知道他原本就是做的不好，对。
对，就是他比较贪污，
Yeah,
然后他的那个政府官员专制。就是说他其实也蛮专制的，他们把他自己的国家 ，It's not like a democracy, right? Like
Yeah,
a little,
exactly.
It's not a
It's
democracy.
the opposite of that, right?
不
Yeah.
民主，
对对对，不太民主。然后他们就是
听起来就是很共产
有点专制。
对。
And you see here, this is from last year. Ukraine's president's rule becomes increasingly corrupt and authoritarian, right? So this was last year they were saying this.
Yeah. All of things is before the war.
Welcome to Ukraine, the most corrupt nation in Europe. All right. With axes and hammers, far-right vigilantes destroy another camp, a Romani camp in Kiev, right? I mean, this is just searching to find the ones that we saw, like on that picture. Okay, and you see this here, right? So citing martial law, Ukraine president signs a decree to combine the national TV channels into one platform. So this is what's happening recently, actually.
Yeah.
So recently, what's happened is he's actually taken all of the different media companies and said that they all need to be on one platform.
And I think all of other channels he cancelled is the opposite from his
well,
party.
Actually,
right?
that was before. Now it's almost all of them. So you can have a look here. Ukrainian President Zelensky has signed a decree that combines all national TV channels into one platform, citing the importance of a unified information policy under martial law.
Oh, okay.
So basically, what do we hear? Unified information policy. We've heard this so many times, right? There's like one version of the truth that people believe, and everything else just doesn't matter, right?
就是他们战后之后就用戒严的方式，然后就说，
就
很像 it's like China, right? It's like think about it in Taiwan, they only say, okay, we 只有中天可以发，就是可以播新闻，其他的
那个新闻是他们审核过的，
对，可能就是
控制过的内容。
理论上应该是因为背后的人都是那些政府的人，这样，所以他们现在做的也是一样的事，就是只有一个 platform 一个平台可以发声。
Yeah, so it's pretty crazy, right? That's that, and then have a look at this one. This is also recent. Zelensky bans political opposition. Imagine if you like banned the KMT in Taiwan, right? And then nationalizes media to create unified information. So Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky banned 11 opposition political parties and nationalized the media.
Yeah.
So any activities supporting the parties labeled pro-Russian and are illegal.
Yeah, I think it's not only about TV, sure, right?
No, this is political parties.
Oh, yeah, political party, yeah.
So you ban the opposite. So imagine if in Taiwan they banned the KMT. Imagine they said, sorry, KMT can't operate anymore. Like, that's pretty crazy, right?
直接解散 they disappear.
So what can we see from this, right? We can see, like, before this thing happened, they were saying bad stuff about Zelensky, lots of bad stuff about Ukraine.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden now, the media's changed, and as you said, they're calling this guy a hero. Isn't that strange?
Yeah.
And we did a video and we showed how it was about like the what he did when Biden came into power, right? When Biden came into power, he banned 3 of those TV stations that were pro-Russian, and he put the opposition leader in house arrest. And it was after that that Putin started moving the troops. Yeah. So, I mean, how much of this, like I said, like how much of this is true and how much of it is fake? We can really look back into the past and we can see what they were talking about, and we can see that they've changed. And shouldn't we now be paying attention to this? Shouldn't we be saying, hey, why have you guys changed so quickly?
The media, right? I think maybe they think, okay, because what I heard is about hero is from, most time is it from the Taiwan's news. They talk about this, but
because I think that people is not care about the international news before, and now he is like first time to know. Wow, he's like hero.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, for the years before that, they were saying Ukraine is corrupt. Ukraine is like doing stuff with the far right is growing. People being autocratic. You know, not like running the country the way that I think most people want these countries to, all countries to be run, right?
Right.
So that's what they were doing. And then people were saying, well, what about the Nazis and stuff? And I saw, especially when this war first started, they were saying, nah, that's not true. Remember, Neil was here and he was saying, no, it's not true. And I think that he probably thought that because of what the media was saying. But actually, the more you look into it, especially into the past, you see that they were already talking about that stuff in the past.
Right. You have to dig more information so you'll find out. Because I remember recently I watched the political talk show in Taiwan.
Yeah.
And they say, oh, Ukraine won't have Nazi military because the Zelensky is Jewish.
Yes.
So they say, oh, because he's Jewish, so he wouldn't allow Nazi military in his country. But it's not true, right? Because they really have a neo-Nazi military there.
They do. And you should see, I watched, he did some stand-up comedy that I saw a video of the other day.
Yeah.
And that, I would really encourage people to watch, because he was saying a whole lot of stuff that I don't even think we should say on YouTube, because it would give us a little bit of problems, right?
No.
So, yeah, and then we can see here, so welcome to Ukraine, the most corrupt nation in Europe, right? So, who was doing business with Ukraine before?
Who?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm not.
Because we know, like, there's a guy in the news at the moment. He lost a laptop. He left it at someone's place.
Yeah.
Like Joe Biden's son, right?
Yeah.
And he was on
Biden.
he was on the board of Burisma, which was an energy company in Ukraine.
Oh, that one I remember. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the most corrupt nation in Europe. But the American president's son was working there, was on the board of an energy company.
Energy company, right?
Yeah. And he had no energy experience. I don't think he could speak the Ukraine language. And he was being paid I think like $80,000 a month or something silly
For
like that.
a consultant?
For consulting, yeah.
就拜登的儿子，他就跟那个乌克兰的人员公司有合作，他们就付给他很多钱，然后就说他是一个顾问，但其实他
什么事都没做。因为我最想做的工作就是顾问。
Sounds like a good job. You do
does.
nothing.
My dream job.
You
Sure,
get lots
right?
of money.
Yeah. To be
Yeah.
consultant.
To be a consultant and make like $80,000 a
And
month,
do
right?
nothing.
And do nothing.
Yeah,
Life
do
will be
nothing.
great, right? Yeah. So then, what happened in Ukraine with Biden? Because it seems like Biden and Ukraine and Biden's son in Ukraine, there are all these connections. And when Biden came into power, Zelensky did certain things.
Yeah.
There seemed to be a lot of connections there. And didn't Biden get the prosecutor fired?
Oh.
So there was a prosecutor. How do you say prosecutor in Chinese?
检察官.
Yeah. And he was going to investigate that company that Biden's son was working at. And what happened to that prosecutor?
Oh, died?
No, he got fired.
He got fired.
Why did he get fired?
So spacious.
Because Joe Biden told him to fire them.
What?
就是一个检察官，他去调查这件事情。那可是如果查一查，可能就发现总统就是跟这件事情有挂钩嘛。然后就说那个检察官现在就是就辞职了，但是 Biden told him to
Well,
fire
no, look,
himself.
you don't
他
have
说
to.
他说
Listen,
就被炒鱿鱼。
please
炒鱿鱼。
don't believe me. Please don't.
哦，就是
I'll show you the video.
OK，
Okay.
就是那个检察官就是被炒鱿鱼了，然后只是他现在可能要放个 video，然后看一下说
You can see.
，Yeah，
那为什么美国不帮乌克兰？对不对？
You mean like they have such a good relationship? Why they don't just help them in the war? In the
Yeah, well, if they help them, it'll make World War III. So
World War III.
Yeah.
哦，
that would be a bit
Okay.
hard, right? But this you can see. This is from 2016.
2016.
Yeah,
So,
you see it, yeah.
I remember going over convincing our team, or others too, convincing us that we should be providing for loan guarantees. And I went over for, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to the press conference. I said, no, I said, I'm not going to, or we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours. I looked, I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a bitch. Got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid.
All right. So I guess we'd have to translate a little bit of that for you. So basically, he's giving a loan guarantee for $1 billion US. How do you say 1 billion in Chinese, right?
1亿
Is it? No, 1亿 is 100 million. So 10亿.
10亿
So 10亿美金, right? 100, like $1 billion US. And he said, you need to fire the prosecutor. And they said, no. He said, well, you're not getting the $1 billion. He said, I've got 6 hours. If you don't fire him, I'm leaving. You're not getting the money. So they fired him. And you heard him in the end. He said, and then they changed. They put a new person who was solid. Okay. Now, if you look at this, right, and you look at what the news says, you'll see that sometimes they talk about, like, fact check. So here's a fact check that I can show you.
They were talking like it's like a joke. I mean, it's like a public speech, right? They
Yeah,
say-
there was, and he said it, And he said, son of a bitch.
But
What up?
why they do that?
Well,
Like,
this is the question, right? So that prosecutor wanted to investigate that company that his son was working at, right? But then if you look here, here's a fact check, right? So they say, fact check, Biden leveraged $1 billion in aid to Ukraine to oust the corrupt prosecutor, not to help his son. How they know that, I don't know. But then you can see what they say. They say, while former Vice President Joe Biden, oversaw foreign policy in Ukraine, his son Hunter Biden served on the board of Burisma. Despite a recently concluded investigation that found no wrongdoing, claims to the contrary have continued to circulate on social media. VP Biden threatened to withhold $1 billion from Ukraine to save his son's job, reads the meme. So if you go further down here, they're saying it's true that he leveraged $1 billion in aid to persuade Ukraine to oust its top prosecutor. So that's all true. But it wasn't because they were investigating that company. It was because Shokin was pursuing corruption among the country's politicians. So they're saying that prosecutor wasn't trying to stop corruption in the government, and that's why.
I mean, they do fire him, but just
They did fire him, but they
based
say
on other
it was
reason.
for a different reason. But
of
let's
course
ask
they
them-
will say that.
Exactly, that's the point, right? So your son is working for a company. That guy wants to investigate that company. You're in the most corrupt country in the world, apparently, according to the news. And then you say, no, we're doing it because he's not trying to investigate other people. Who's going to believe that?
That it's very.
It's not about my son,
featured.
right? They're investigating the company. My son works there. No, nothing to do with that. It's all got to do with something else. Sure.
就还是炒鱿鱼了，只是用别的原因把它炒鱿鱼这样子，所以就
Yeah.
很刻意。
And I met the tooth fairy yesterday. And I saw Santa Claus for lunch last week.
Santa Claus.
Well, it's bullshit, right? It sounds like bullshit because it is bullshit. It's the same thing here, right? It doesn't make any sense, right? But
Yeah.
they say fact check.
The fact check
So
is.
then obviously it's not true, right? Because we've seen so many wonderful fact checks recently.
I wonder what is all behind the fact check.
Sure, but then have a look at this. This is from The Hill. And The Hill says, these once secret memos cast doubt on Joe Biden's Ukraine story. So you can see here, they say, former Vice President Joe Biden, has, this is now a 2020 Democratic presidential contender, so this is in the past, has locked into a specific story about the controversy in Ukraine. He insists that in spring 2016, he strong-armed Ukraine to fire its chief prosecutor solely because Biden believed the official was corrupt and inept, not because the Ukrainian was investigating a natural gas company, Burisma, that hired Biden's son. There's just one problem. Hundreds of pages of never-released memos and documents, many from inside the American team helping Burisma to stave off his legal troubles, conflict with Biden's narrative, his story. And they raise the troubling prospect that US officials may have painted a false picture in Ukraine that helped ease Burisma's legal troubles and stop prosecutors' plans to interview Hunter Biden during the 2016 presidential election. So there is apparently some proof in the news from the Hill saying that, listen, that story's not true. But I mean, come on. If you had a son, Raven, and you had power, and there was somebody investigating your son in a corrupt country, that wouldn't be your reason?
But I won't make a video to.
Exactly. That's very true.
I'm not stupid.
Yeah.
And let people like make the YouTuber and
Put on,
Sure.
everyone talking about that factor.
Sure.
I think it's really a Joe Biden.
Sure. But how do you say arrogance in Chinese?
Oh, it's
很自傲
Yeah,
太
that is
自大了
arrogance, right? You come from America, the biggest, strongest country in the
American
world.
style.
Yeah, you heard him. He didn't even try to hide it. Well, son of a bitch, he got fired.
yeah.
可是我以为这个是
Yeah.
前任总统那个
奥巴马、
不是那个这边白白的那个
川普。
川普，我以为这是川普的作风我以为拜登比较内敛。
Oh, you mean like talk about some bitch in front of media?
I think the Trump is more arrogant. It's not like Biden.
Just like
Well, I suppose I would say not really. I do think Trump is a bit arrogant, but it's a different type. Trump is just like wants people to love him and praise him, and I think he's got a big ego.
Yeah,
But I mean, when I
yeah.
say arrogant, I mean it's these people saying,
You know-
look what I did. It's illegal.
No.
I did it. Son of a bitch.
Oh,
Right?
yeah,
Like,
the feeling is like, oh, 我就这样咬我啊，然后
the rules don't apply to me. I broke the rules. What are you going to do? That kind of arrogance. A different
No.
type of arrogance, I
Okay,
think,
okay.
right?
But it's an American style. I
Yeah.
don't know.
It's
just,
different, right? I suppose you would say Trump is really kind of American, like very loud and proud and everything. But then if you look at this thing with Biden, I think it's just people who believe the rules don't apply to them, and they think that they can get away with everything.
Yeah, and he's spending money and to let other countries' politician and move other politician in other country.
Yeah.
I mean, it's even not in his country.
Sure. So, I mean, what have we talked about in our recent videos, right? I mean, the first thing that we saw was in 2013, 2014, they went into Ukraine and tried to change the president to the person they wanted, right? Then we saw that there's been fighting for like 7 years. No one in the media seemed to be making too much noise about the people, the Russian people in the East dying, right? We also see what happened with Biden and his son. And I think a few other people have sons working in Ukraine. I think like maybe
Right.
Nancy Pelosi and a few other people I've heard they also have sons working
You
in
mean
these
they are
energy
all
companies.
consultants in Ukraine?
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah.
Easy money.
已经太好赚了。
Yeah. And
I
then
want join.
Sure, I agree. And then we see that the news was saying Ukraine is the most corrupt country in Europe. Why are all these American politicians sending their sons to work in the most corrupt nation in Europe?
That's so weird.
For fun, right?
Easy to manipulate.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous, right? And then today what we saw was that before the war, they were saying one thing about Zelensky and one thing about Ukraine, and all of a sudden Ukraine is this amazing country with a hero president and we all need to support them. I'm not saying that the war is okay. War is horrible, man. I don't want anybody to die. But we got to look at what caused it and and the more you look, like every week we've done this, what have we seen? More dodgy, terrible stuff going on and stuff that doesn't make sense. And the fact check, what kind of a fact check is that? One person says, you're doing this because your son's there. Other one say, no, I'm doing this because he's not doing his job properly. How can you fact check that? You're telling me that you have a little robot inside Biden's head and you know his thoughts? How can you fact check that?
I think it's also an information war. You put too much information in the same time and people, they couldn't find the real or the right information.
Exactly, right? But just because they say fact check, false. So he did get the prosecutor fired, but it's for a different reason. How do they know that? And we just have to trust and we have to believe that. And then as we see here, there are a lot of documents showing that actually that might not be true. So, yeah, it just doesn't really make sense, right? And if you said this to a person and said, hey, your son was there working in that country, the lawyer was coming after that company when investigating that company. Come on. We should do a Biden. Come on, man. Eh? Shit. So, I don't know. So what do you think, Raven, when you hear this kind of stuff? Like, maybe I don't think you've heard this information before, right?
Yeah, it's like.
So what do you think when you hear this?
I'm just thinking about like.
You want to work in Ukraine?
No, be I like be a Taiwanese. I think it's like it's good.
It's good.
Yeah, because 我可以讲中文吗？
We'll translate for you.
Okay, thank you. 就是虽然我听了这个，我觉得我反而是在想我自己。我是在想说，台湾人只要发生一点小事情，然后那些酸民就是一直在网络上骂。可是其实我们已经算是某种程度的公开与透明了。在政府在处理一些事情，我就觉得给政府一点信心。可是你看他们已经发生这样的事情，这么夸张，就是他们的人民可能还不知道，还有一些是蒙在鼓里的，因为他们可能不一定会上网。我的意思是，还让你们今天这样的节目去跟人家分享这样的故事，就是离多远的国家，就是我意思就是说，其实很多国家可能都是蛮有可能就是像这样，因为我随便举例，就是比如说像俄罗斯，然后像乌克兰，然后像中国。我的意思是说，我们其实待在这边，我可以去想说，我们的民主其实已经做得很不错，
至少我们可以公开讨论这些事。
对，因为像最近香港也很可怜，对，所以我听到这个，我反而是想到自己，我很自私。I'm very selfish. I just think about Taiwan.
Okay. So you're gonna translate for us, Abby?
Okay, it means like when she saw about this story, the first thing she think about Taiwan, because Taiwan is more like a safety and open. You can talk about this kind of news, like the bad thing and the good thing, whatever you can share about it. But you think about like China or the Ukraine, their people maybe they even don't have the rights to
we just saw it. He's consolidated all the media into one voice. Yeah, exactly right.
They couldn't get enough information to check all this politician stuff, but so we should appreciate that we live in Taiwan. We have this kind of freedom, speech freedom. But lots of SJW in Taiwan, they still complain a lot.
About?
They complain about Taiwan is really bad. 这个乡民大概都说什么这样子？
乡民就是比如说做了一件事，好，比如说我随便举例，比如像那个美国的那个猪肉，他们就那边是狂骂。可是你有想过说，那个背后的利益可能是sorry， 就是那个利益可能是什么？比如说我随便举例，我不知道，就是可能说他可能真的。中共对我们怎么样了？可能他会有一些支持，因为本来就是我干嘛白白帮助你？对，那好，你买我猪肉好，我帮你。就是我意思就是说，你们没有去想过这些。然后我刚刚还再补充一点，就是因为我知道就是对不起，就是现在乌克兰那个总统那个名字我忘记了。
Zelensky，
对，就是我意思就是说，他好像那个时候就是他出来选总统，好像也是个意外。他就是他虽然是演员嘛，可是他完全没有政治的背景。对，然后我记得他就是。因为他就能言善道，然后就因为这样子，他就有点像川普的那一个当选的那个情况一样，就是他的民众是有一点被蒙在鼓里，然后就觉得说，看到你这一个 social media 上的形象很好，然后就好我投你，因为好像感觉很正面，然后好像很你懂吗？能言善道的人就很会唬烂别人，
感觉有点像那个韩国瑜那种感觉，
对，
很会说话，
举例的很好，然后这些人就是被蒙在鼓里，然后可是。当他真正变成政治人物，开始在做事的时候，我那时候看新闻，我知道他是很多民众是不满意的。然后又听到就是刚刚那个 Richard 分享，就是你说他们根本就得不到真正公开跟对，就是真正的那个资讯，对，去了解说这个政府到底在干嘛。所以我现在就是很多你知道百感交集，我会不会讲太多？
不会。
那我意思就是说，他们民众在选总统之后，其实也我觉得。有点草率，听起来虽然是民选，可是为什么会选一个演员出身的总统？
或他们可能对原本就有的总统太失望了。
有可能就是有点就是急着去
选一个感觉比较好的。
对，我觉得你也可以跟他分享，虽然英文讲不出来。
I think we're going to try translate a little bit as we go because it was very long.
So the second part, I start with Zelensky. Because why Zelensky, he's a comedian, right? He doesn't have any politician
But I'm just curious about what you said before, that the SJWs, what did you say their problem was?
SJW, they were complaining about, like the pork from United States.
The what?
Pork, the pig meal.
Oh, pork. Oh, okay, pork.
meat.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they will say, we have to import the pork from United States. But the people, local Taiwanese, against it because they say they have a toxic chemistry, like
ketamine or something like that.
Yes. They say, no, it's too dangerous. We have to fight for our food safety. But actually, you have to think about all of, the benefits between Taiwan and United States.
Yeah,
because
it's like a trade-off.
It's a trade-off
right?
because you want United States to help you, but somehow you need to exchange, right?
Yeah.
And you couldn't just take all of a good thing from United States, but you don't
Yes,
put
you have to give as well.
You have to
give. Compromise.
Yeah.
Because you were saying that you feel like good that because you're in Taiwan, you've got this kind of freedom of speech and all that type of thing. But then don't you also worry? Because if you see this, like it looks like this was a very corrupt country, right? Mm-hmm. And what happened to this very corrupt country is that these politicians in America started sending their children to go and work there. Why would they do that unless it's a way for them to get rich?
You mean American people
Well,
send their children?
Biden's son worked in Ukraine.
Oh, work.
And a lot of these other people, right? These politicians are sending their children to a very corrupt country. Why?
They can get money.
Because then you can do exactly what you're just saying. This trade-off. So what do you need in Ukraine? Well, we need money. Okay, well, give my son a good job where he gets 80,000 and does nothing. And a lot of other people apparently have sons doing that. So did they really care about Ukraine? Or they just pretend to care about Ukraine so that them and their families can get rich? And that's my question for you, is that if they're doing this for Ukraine, but now they're also telling us, they're going to support Taiwan with China.
No.
Do they care about Taiwan?
No.
Or is this just another way for them to get what they want?
Yeah.
But people in Taiwan possibly believe, America cares about us.
Yeah, I think America wouldn't just support Taiwan just based on, because you are so naive. Or no,
you're a
naive.
democracy, right? Oh, yes.
We have to protect a democracy in Asia. No, I think because Taiwan is the location. We are on the right point. How to say
it's a very strategic.
The entrance to the Pacific Ocean.
Sure.
They have to keep themselves because if the China take Taiwan, it mean they have opened the entrance to Pacific Ocean. They can they can
control the whole sea.
The whole sea. Yeah. They can put the submarine to maybe Hawaii or to.
Sure. So you were saying then that you feel happy about freedom of speech, but on the other side, doesn't it make you worry? Because it seems like people in Taiwan are doing what you said. They say, okay, so we're going to have to accept the pork that we don't want, or accept something else. Because they're going to protect us. Are they?
But I don't believe.
Okay. so then what you're saying is
why?
Why
you can say why?
Sure. So then the trade-off happens.
Yeah.
But will the deal eventually happen in the end? If Taiwan needs that protection, will it come?
Yeah, there's a question. I'm gonna put a big question mark here.
So really, I mean, that you just look at all this stuff, and I think one of the things that really happens is you start to lose confidence.
You mean a confidence to the United States, right?
Sure. Like, because you want to believe that they would help, but would it mean that they only help if it helps them?
Of course. I think people always be selfish. Yeah. They're going to protect themselves, put themselves in the first priority.
Sure, but is that the message that's being said to people? Because you just said it. We got to accept the pork and accept other things because we believe there is a deal there. But what happens if that deal doesn't come through later? So then you've accepted all these things to become part of the club, but then later on, look at what happened with Ukraine. They're not helping Ukraine, are they? I'm not saying that I believe they should or anything, but they aren't. And Ukraine is begging that Zelensky dudes on TV also, please, no fly zone. They're not doing it. I get why. But what happens if later it's like, hey, China's attacking Taiwan. We need you guys to help. Yeah, sorry, guys.
So you have to
eat your pork and just be happy, right?
And they have very good reason because they will say, oh no, World War III.
Yeah, exactly. No World War III, right?
Very good reason.
Just right now they trade Ukraine.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh no, we couldn't join that. We're gonna fight. I also remember like the American like a military or something, like a 高官, they say Taiwan should run from Ukraine to self-defense yourself. 就是你们自己，对，你们要看一下乌克兰，就是这是一个借镜，然后你们可以学一下怎么就是。
可是其实我一直相信，就是美国绝对不会帮我们。
Yeah, but you know what? I want to add something to that.
我刚讲那个只是在讲说，就是台湾人民不要那么爱卖，我不是在讲说那个猪肉的交易会让美国就是帮助我们。
Okay.
But Abby, but think about this. Sorry, say what she said first.
She said she talked about the pork thing. Not mean because she think United States were gonna help us. It just it's an example for the local Taiwan people. They are like to complain of everything.
Yeah, sure.
But it's the strategy have some meaning behind it.
Sure, but it is true that if you want to have these deals, that you've got to show that you're willing to compromise. Like accepting the pork that you don't want. So we get that.
Yeah.
But the thing that you just said, right, is so interesting. So what? Taiwan needs to learn from Ukraine?
Yeah.
Self-defense?
That's what
Where did Ukraine get the weapons from? Not from Ukraine. Those are coming into Ukraine.
Yeah.
Have you looked at Ukraine? Have you seen all the bombs, all the buildings? It looks fucked. Is that what we need to learn? Yeah, so if China comes, defend, we'll send you weapons, and you guys fight and die, and we'll fuck your country. But hey, good job, you learned from Ukraine, really?
That's what I think. Every war, United States gonna support them because all the war doesn't happen in their land. It's from other. It's on the other countries. Yeah. So they think, it's okay. We're gonna help you.
Yeah, sure. So learn a lesson from Ukraine. Like fight hard. Yeah, great. Your country gets destroyed, because that's what those guys that we showed in that other video. The prominent thinkers in America were saying, why did Ukraine feel confident to push Russia? What was the reason? They felt confident because America and NATO made them feel confident. Said, hey, we'll have your back, guys. Mm-hmm. And they did the same thing to Georgia.
Yeah.
But both times, what's happened? Mm-hmm. It's like, you know what it reminds me of? It's like on the playground. It's like, you know there's something bad that you want to do as a kid. And there's always that one stupid kid. And you go to him, hey, listen. Go say this if they like. I don't think I should. No, you'll be fine, man. We'll be here for you. You just go. And they go. They do something stupid, and they turn around for the support. Never gone. Yeah. Nobody there, right?
Like play some trick on teacher. You put some stuff on the teacher's chair, and they go.
You do it. Go. Yeah, we'll watch. Later, a teacher walks in. Where are you? Hey, dude, we gonna.
They say the one America too.
But I think American is like have the biggest benefit in this.
Yeah, they still can get lots of benefits.
Yeah, because he can see.
Talking to the mic there.
Sorry, he can see what the 那个军队 army or 军事要怎么讲
military or
he can see what that the army or something like sorry 我讲中文就他可以透过这件事件去了解俄罗斯的军事跟他怎么作战，对他来讲根本就是好事。然后再来我讲一下台湾，就是我认为他不会帮忙，是一个平常没有打仗的时候我卖你猪肉，我给你一些烂东西，好要打仗的时候我卖你一些二手的军事，我赚了一大笔钱，
对又赚钱。
所以美国这所有事件里面，而且他最奸诈，他不到最后一刻他不会帮忙。对，不会帮我，就是那些你们国家都炸烂无所谓，然后我就一直在那边赚
收钱。
I think you got to translate halfway for me, Abby.
Okay. Okay, start from where? The first thing is like when Ukraine get a war, right? United States will say, okay, let's observe what Russia have. They have this weapon, they have this missile. It's a kind of way to observe what Russia have, right? And the second part, if the America also can earn lots of money here. For example, if it's in Taiwan, right now they sell all the pork, imported pork to Taiwan, and they earn some money. And when
War.
When we really have war, they will not help us, but we will say, I send you.
We sent you the
The second hand.
The second hand, I send you
broken bomb.
And they still can earn money from the second hand weapon. They earn lots of money from those chaos.
Sure.
还不用处理那些废物的那些。
Yeah, and they don't have to deal with all of bullshit left.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's exactly what we showed in that other video, right? Was like after they go into a lot of these countries, do any of them look better afterwards? None of them. I mean, look at Iraq and Libya and all these places. Afghanistan, they're all not good afterwards, right? So I mean, what good did going in there do for those countries? Nothing. I mean, when they go in, they're like, we're doing this for you guys. And when we leave, you're screwed. You're I mean, look what they did. Look what Biden did with Afghanistan, right? I mean, they even left their own people behind.
That's a disaster.
Yeah, like, some of our people are where was it? In Afghanistan. Yeah, too bad, guys. It was your choice. You went there.
No.
Like, nice, right? They just...
那个撤军也是一团乱，就直接跑掉。
Do you think if the Trump is the president now, is the situation will different now?
I mean, some people say if Trump was president, Putin wouldn't have done this. But I don't really believe that. Because if you look at why Putin did it now, that's very interesting. Because they have a lot of resources, right? From oil and gas and nickel and all the other things that they have. And it looks like they chose this time because inflation is high. The debt is extremely high. And it seems to be like if Putin was looking for a perfect time to do this, now is the time. So I know people say,
ready for everything.
Yeah, but I think like people say like
time.
People couldn't predict Trump. And they thought like the same way with Putin now, they might start World War III. But it would be maybe a little bit closer, but I don't think so.
You mean on the age?
Yeah, because I can't think that the only reason Putin did this now was just because, like,
he has the leverage.
No, I mean he must do it. It can't be just because Biden's in office. It can't just be that. I mean, it could be. Maybe you think Biden's weak, but the question then is how much power does Biden really have?
Nah, I don't think. I think it's a puppy, right?
Well, these guys, I mean, in America, right? I don't know how much power the presidents truly have. I mean, look what happened with Trump, right? He said, drain the swamp, put Hillary in jail.
Yeah,
I don't think Hillary's in jail.
Really? Okay.
So it depends on your system, right? So, I mean, they have the different branches of government. I don't think that the president has that much power. It also depends if you believe there are people behind the president, like the military-industrial complex and the deep state. Because it seems that it doesn't matter who's president, the same things kind of happen. So, yeah, it's nice to think maybe Trump would have done it differently, but can you really say that? I'm not 100% sure because, but one thing that was good with Trump was no wars. He seemed to be focusing a lot more on America instead of the rest of the world. Just think about it. Don't you miss Trump? I mean, if you think about it, when Trump was in president...
But I think Trump had balls.
Yeah, balls. Yeah, sure. But think about it. When Trump was president, oil was cheap, right? What else was happening? He was making peace deals in the Middle East. Quite a few peace deals in the Middle East.
Yeah.
He was telling America, listen, stop focusing out, focus in, focus on America. I way prefer that.
He also talking with Kim Jong-un.
Yeah,
like
he was at least trying to talk to these people. Yeah. It seems way better when he was president than now.
And he can have a trade war with China. He did lots of things.
Well, I think the trade war's still kind of going. I don't think any of those things that happened have stopped with the trade war. So, but it definitely seems a lot better. But whether that would have stopped this, who knows?
Yeah.
Because I mean, we're really like this whole NATO thing. We showed that video of NATO expanding. That happened a long time before Trump. And I can't think that just because Trump was there, that would stop. But maybe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that's pretty good discussion, right? I think we should move on to our next topic. Otherwise, we're going to do this one for the entire time.
Oh, okay. Let's move to another topic.
Yeah, so let's move to another one. But please, if you like the work we're doing, if you like some of the research, and I'll try to put some of these links, especially for some of these things we talked about today, into the video. But yeah, if you like our work, please like, share, subscribe. We'll keep trying to give you some more stuff. Are you playing with the emotional support animal?
The dead dog.
Dead dog.
He's my sex toy.
He's your sex toy. Well, we'll do that in another segment. So, right, okay. So we'll be back with you guys shortly. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.